Hi, this is Rob Thompson, and welcome to the Phillies Show.
Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki. It's the Phillies Show. It's Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. Hope everybody is doing well as Red October gets started for the Phillies on Saturday with Game 1 of the National League Division Series at Citizens Bank Park. Jim, earlier this week, we had Phillies hitting coach Kevin Long on the show. If you haven't listened to that, definitely check that out. A lot of great stuff. Wednesday, we had Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro on the show. That was a lot of fun. And today we have another great guest, Phillies third base coach Dusty Wathan. And I think everybody is going to learn a lot about it. Let's talk about what we liked about Dusty with the Park's first pitch. First pitch is brought to us exclusively by our partners at Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. Dusty, third base coach, very good third base coach, dare I say. And I liked learning a lot about the preparation that kind of goes into some of these things. I asked him, do you have to go in before every series and kind of like, besides studying who's on base, what the situation is, but how about just how an outfield plays, actually how a ballpark plays. Mm-hmm. And I did not know this. I mean, he talked about how they prepare for every ballpark they go in and how the ball might play off the wall with some very interesting details. So a lot of really cool stuff that Dusty talked about. Third base coach prep, run prevention, working with the catchers, JT Realmuto, all sorts of great stuff.
Great stuff. I mean, him talking about they have video clips of the way, the ball scoots around certain outfield walls in the league. That was amazing. And as he's talking about, you think about third base coach, right? And you think it's all just using your eyes and your feel and your instinct and your knowledge of the game. And you're picking up that runner and you're measuring the outfield and the cutoff man and if the guy's got a big arm or whatnot, and you're making a decision to wind him or not. There's so much that goes into it. They've already had, data breakdowns on the outfields and the ballparks and that runner and the game situation. You can almost picture him needing a computer chip in his brain to process all that and make a split second decision to send a guy that might win or lose you a ball game. So I thought he very appropriately said it's as close as you can get to actually being a player in the game. And as you mentioned, he is a very good third base coach. You know why? He's been one for a long time. You don't last that long if you're not really good at your job. And then that's only part of his job. He instructs the catchers. He works on the running game. He's a great baseball man. One of those guys you come away feeling like you learned something. And if anybody who doesn't feel like they learned something after listening to this interview ain't paying attention. And then, he's got a great personality on top of it, tells a great George Brett story. I'll make you laugh a little bit. So, and a couple great JT stories, because I asked him about JT's, what jumps out to me about JT is his toughness. The guy is like a bulldozer. He's always getting dinged and run over, and he always comes back for more. So he's, to me, an amazing athlete and tough man. So Dusty's very close to him. So great to hear some stuff there. I don't want to give it all away. You got to click the button and you got to watch the whole thing because it's really good.
It is really good. I think everybody is really going to enjoy Phillies third base coach Dusty Wathan.
That was First Pitch, presented exclusively by our partners at Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. ParksCasino.com is the website. You must be 21 to participate. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dusty, thank you so much for joining the Philly Show. How's it going?
Great. Red October, day one.
Red October, it's right here. I mean, you've been in the organization forever. You've been around. You've seen the good times. You've seen the not so good times. You've been on the big league staff since 2017. So you've seen it all over the years. What do you think about this team right now in terms of mindset, headspace, going back to the postseason for the 4th consecutive year, unfinished business?
I think we're in a really good spot right now. I think health-wise, minus Zach, everybody's pretty healthy. I think everybody's been through this before. I like the consistency of the team this year, setting the record for most series won in a season by the Phillies. So I think that says a lot. I think a lot of times last year, we came out of the gate pretty good. Kind of played 500 ball really the second half of the season. So there were some question marks on, did they peak too soon? I think this team really hasn't hit their peak yet. I think, most of the guys in the clubhouse and on the staff have been through this before, so we know what to expect. Last year we had the bye, fortunate to have it again. And I think we're just in a good spot right now. And, our mentality has been what Rob preaches is win series. And that's what's going to get it done here in October.
Dusty, we're not really sure yet who the Phillies are going to play starting on Saturday. But when you get an opponent firmed up, what will be your role in game planning? What will you dig in on and try to impart, that info to the players?
Well, most of my job is, first preparing to coach third base, checking who's going to play outfield for whatever team we're going to play. And then the second biggest job would be preparing for their runners, the run game prevention. So digging in on their guys, what counts they like to run in as an organization, as a player. Do they do this? How the Yankees kind of started the little leap off the base. Can we find something where we can exploit that? The guys like to steal second base on the first pitch. All those types of things to help prevent their run game and help ours. And then really go through on the base running side for us, checking on how they defend certain things. If we get into a first and third situation, are they a club that returns the ball? Do they throw it through? Do they not throw through? Do they like to throw to second base with the runner on first base on balls down the line? Do they throw to the cutoff man towards home? Things like that to prepare yourself to maybe make a decision in game.
So, Dusty, one of the fun things that I had as a first base coach, I actually had an opportunity to coach third base one spring, and it was a totally different experience. Obviously, you are impacting the game in a very different way. Can you talk about how exciting it is to be on that third base line and how many different things you actually have to think about as you get into certain situations and during gameplay?
Yeah, I tell people it's the closest thing to playing that you can get when you're done playing. So you're actually impacting the game in a play. As most other coaches, you've game planned, you've done all your work, you've given the guys the knowledge, and they got to kind of go do it. But a coach in third base, there's going to be a situation where in a series or in a season that you're going to impact it by sending a guy, not sending a guy, making a decision. But I'm really grateful for managing in the minor leagues from third base because it really makes you think about a lot of things. People probably don't think about it. It's, who's coming up next? How's he swinging the bat? How's our bullpen look today? Are we going to play for a tie? Are we playing for a win? There's just so many things. Are we going to pinch hit possibly? Are we not going to pinch hit? Is so-and-so banged up so he can't pinch hit? So maybe we're a little bit more aggressive. Is Kyle Schwarber coming up with 2 outs? Maybe we're going to be a little bit more not as aggressive with somebody like that coming up with the season that he's had. So there's so many things that go into it. And then on top of that, the physical things of the other club. How well do the guys throw? How well do they go left, right, come in, field ground balls? Do they throw better when they catch a fly ball than a ground ball? So there's so many things that go into your decision prior to the ball getting put in play. So I feel that for the most part, managing in the minor leagues really helps that because you're thinking of so many things and coaching third base on top of it. And then also, obviously, being here, being with Topper the last 4 years, being with Paco and I first and third for 7 years, like Paco says, like he said, there's times where he looks at me and he just knows what we're gonna do. So it makes it a little bit more comfortable.
It feels like almost like you talked about being as close to a player as possible. I think it's almost melding as close to being a player and as close to being a manager as you could possibly get at the same time, which I think really brings out the juice in the position.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're making a lot of decisions in your head. Talking to Topper before I go out there, hey, what are we thinking here? How are we looking in the bullpen? Just double check this. This happens. Are we going to possibly bunt? We're not going to bunt. is there a chance that we could hit and run because this guy's a sinker baller and we got an Alec Boehm up that's going to put the ball in play. So we talk about a lot of those things prior to innings starting, prior to games starting, prior to series starting. So, a lot goes into it, and I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, this might be a dumb question, Dusty, but how much do you also know how an outfield ballpark plays? Like, if I said to you, tell me about Dodger Stadium and how the ball plays off the wall, or Great American Ballpark, do you study those types of things as well?
Oh yeah. So having done it for a number of years, you kind of got to get a good idea. You've been out there for batting practice multiple times over the years. So you've seen it with your own eyes, but also our video department does a great job and send Paco and I a nice video of balls starting in left field and going all the way around and watching how they stick in the corner, how they roll around the corner, how they hit a chain link area of the fence, crazy bounces that they've seen happen in video. So, it's probably a 2 to 5 minute video going from left to right, just watching balls bounce and how they bounce. And then we also get one more Paco than I, but I watch it too. It's an infield video that shows all the video and the ground rules from dugout to dugout. Like if a throw comes from third base, at what angle, how's it going to bounce off? Is Paco going to yell at him and say, go ahead? Or is it going to stick to the padding? Is it going to bounce towards the right field corner? Is it going to bounce back to the first baseman? Is there net there? So I get that from my side too. Doesn't happen as often, but still good to be prepared on stuff like that.
And then you get feedback too, like post game, right? On don't you get like on every send, or is that, am I right? Or
Yeah. So when my first year in 18, got hired in 17, but I went into the year and I said, my dream would be to not have the people in the stands being the second guess machines. I'd like you guys to build something. And so they built me a postmortem that takes into account the speed of our runner, the velocity of the guy throws the ball, the distance he has to travel to get to the ball. So it kind of is the ultimate second guessing machine, and it gives you the probability of them scoring with a guy's average tools, the probability of him scoring on that actual play where he threw it, because we can measure everything, how fast the guy's running and all that. And then the break-even probability of, hey, was that chance of him scoring better than the break-even in that situation? So that takes into account, outs, innings. The only thing it doesn't take into account, and it's hard to do, is who's coming up in the lineup and how they're going at the time. So there's still a little bit of, hey, sometimes I'm going to be more aggressive than what the second guessing, the post-mortem says. Sometimes I'm going to be a little bit more passive on that situation. But it definitely gives me some good feedback and, a chance to study things the next day. And, did you make a mistake? But, sometimes you just got to get lucky too.
So is there a send in your mind that you got the report after the game, and like, holy crap, I can't.
There's a lot of them actually.
But there's
a lot of them really. I mean, not a lot, but there's some where you're like, you're sending them and there's a guy on deck that's not swinging the bat well, and you're like, I hope he throws this one offline, or I hope it short hops the catcher. And that's another thing I look at. I look at, how do catchers tag? There's some guys that are really good taggers. Some guys don't handle bounces very well. So you're like, I'm going to give it a shot. And, he's 50-50. I'm going to catch this ball anyway. So, but the thing that the fans don't want to hear is that, I personally probably should get more guys thrown out sometimes. You look at that too. So, but it's hard with our lineup and the guys that we have, we're not dealing with a lineup of a bunch of guys hitting 215 with 30 RBIs a year. So you always feel confident the next guy can get that hit if you think it's a 50-50 situation where a guy's going to score.
Yeah, I've always thought if a guy, if some guys don't get thrown out over a course of 162, a few guys get thrown out, maybe the third base coach is not being aggressive enough. But with all this data, maybe that throws that out the window. And what do you think?
I think so. I think you're right. I think there's some times where you're like, hey, I'm going to take a shot at this thing. So I think guys are going to get thrown out. And if you don't get some guys thrown out here and there in the right situation, you get a guy thrown out, you're down by 4 with nobody out, then probably shouldn't have got that guy thrown out, but you get guys thrown out with 2 outs and situations like that, tie games, down by 1, stuff like that. That you get into a situation, those extra inning games where we put the runner on second and there'll be no outs. And, if we're swinging the bat, I'll tell Paco, hey, I might just automatically send this guy no matter what. And you send that guy to second base.
How do you tell him that? How do you tell him that? Is there a
We got our
signal?
ways.
Give us a little. Come on, man.
We got our
Everybody's
ways.
watching, guys. Everybody's watching. Hey, so I had this. So I will confess this. When I was a GM, I used to tell all our third base coaches, send them all, boys. Send them all.
You sound like K-Long.
Send them all. and honestly, I just felt like the ability for outfielders, even though they have arm strength and that under game situation, they had a really tough time making a good, solid throw from the outfield to home plate. It's just a hard throw to make under duress. And I just felt like that's something it was important to go ahead and send guys. Now, not with nobody out or, with somebody. I think that's different, but I would tend to be more aggressive. And I see that you have been in your career as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think, it is hard for guys to throw guys out. I don't think outfielders practice throwing to the bases as much as they used to.
No, they don't.
So I think it is more difficult. You see them throwing spring training. I tell you what, Paco gets our guys throwing to the bases, and I don't see that very often. Of course, I'm not always out on the field when we're playing other teams, but I very rarely see a team throw into bases, especially home. You'll see the guys do their little drills where they're throwing a ball into second base from the outfield. But yeah, you don't see it very often. It is a hard play, and I do think that getting guys thrown out and saying send them all. And there are some organizations, believe it or not, Ruben, that do say that. The analytical department says just send them no matter what. And then a guy gets thrown out by 40 feet, and that guy that told him to send them all isn't standing at third base with 40,000 people yelling at him.
You're darn tootin'. You're darn tootin'.
Who's got the arm in the National League that you think is the most dangerous outfield arm?
Tatis, Acuna, those two. I mean, I have a play stuck in my mind. We were losing 5-0. It was the 9th inning. JT's on third. Bomer was hitting, and he hits a ball to right field. We're down by 5. So, typically you're like, I'm not going to send him. But the ball was almost to the warning track. Acuna caught it flat-footed, and I told JT to go. And he scored, but only because it was JT. He threw it flat-footed at like 101 or something, right on the money. And JT was safe. But I was like, you have got to be kidding me that he just made that throw. I mean, typically you're like, no. But, I mean, this ball was at the warning track, and he just threw an absolute bullet to the plate right on the money. And JT was safe, thank God. But I was like, God, if that would have been somebody else, he probably gets thrown out there, and, I'm walking off the field getting killed.
You're like, no, for next time. I'm going to keep that in my head for next time. In another
So,
game.
you bring up JT. You work very closely with him. You work very closely with the catchers. You were a catcher. Your dad was a catcher. JT amazes me for a lot of reasons, his athleticism, but honestly, the thing that amazes me most is his toughness. He takes a beating back there. He gets hit in the head. He gets hit in the fruit bowl. He gets hit all over the place, and he never stops coming back. You got any tales about his toughness, or just your impressions of his overall toughness behind there?
Yeah, I mean, he's something special. There's not many guys built like him. I think his background, growing up as a wrestler with his family, I'm sure they didn't let him complain about anything, with the history of his uncle's wrestling and Olympic medals and things like that. And then playing football and stuff like that. And, there's something to be said about a good Midwestern boy that's tough back there, that won't take any crap from anybody and stuff like that. So he's impressive. I tell you, I mean, it's tough to get him to come out of the game for anything, but sometimes it's necessary. The other day with that foul ball, I was like, this guy's going to be out for 2 weeks with this thing. And he shows me the next day, and it's black and blue and everything. He said, it's not broke. It'll be fine. And I said, can you throw? And then that night he throws like a 174 to second base right on the money. I said, I guess you're fine, huh? He goes, I told you I'm fine. It's just bruised. It was black and blue and looked terrible. But, he's out there, and to his credit, he wants to play. Not every guy wants to play as much as JT does. So he's a great catcher, obviously, but a great person and a fun person to work with. And we've had a pretty good run with each other, and hopefully there's more years to come.
Parks Casino, it is my casino of choice, and they have it all: action, excitement, headline, entertainment. Plus, if you live in central or northern Jersey or even in New York, the closest live tables are at Parks Casino off exit 6 of the Jersey Turnpike. Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino, play thousands of hot slots, state-of-the-art sports book, a beautiful poker room, the Liberty Bell Beer Garden, and a collection of award-winning restaurants. Tons of places to go eat. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Tickets are on sale now for all of these headliners. Now listen to this. Just announced, coming November 26th, comedian Joey Diaz. You have September 26th, The Revivalist. September 27th, comedian Russell Peters. October 4th, Kansas. The 24th, Everclear. The 25th, Almost Queen. And then the 21st, Air Supply, man. Remember that? You're all out of love, man. You're all out of love. No, November 22nd is comedian Brian Regan. ParksCasino.com to buy tickets for all these shows. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It is funny how every spring Rob goes, hey, I'm going to try to monitor his workload, and we're going to try to get him down. And then every year, 132. 132
I think
every year.
I looked the other day. I think he caught 50 more innings than anybody else in baseball.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked by that at all, by any stretch of the imagination. Talk to us about his. I mean, you've seen him for 7 years, and I know that he's always had a positive reputation of his work and his preparedness. But talk about the relationships that he has built and the confidence that the pitching staff has in him and how that's developed. I'm not sure it was like that when he first got here. And how that's all sort of come to full circle.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I don't think there was I think everybody knew the physical ability that JT had when we got him. I don't think everybody knew the preparation that he does and how good he wanted to be at calling a game and having his pitchers trust him. And I think that's the last box to check to be an elite catcher. I think, the guys realized quickly and watched him do all his homework and be prepared for everything that, there's not many guys really shaking him out there. There's some guys on the staff that I don't think do any homework anymore and just say, JT's got it. I trust him. And there's something to be said about that. And I think you look back in this organization and when the Phillies took the next step, the last time we had a good run, that's when Chooch really learned how to call a game and everybody started trusting Chooch and we took off. And I think you can kind of see the same thing that happened here with JT. The pitching staff really trusted him and realized, you know what? This guy knows what he's doing. He's prepared. He's back there all the time. He's reading the swings. He's back there for every inning. I'm not out there for every inning. He might have seen something yesterday or the last time we played these guys or in the first inning, and I'm coming in the 8th inning as a reliever. So I think that's a big key. And then obviously we had success as a pitching staff and as an organization and as a team. So I think that gives a lot of confidence to JT and the pitching staff.
So, Dusty, hot topic in baseball, hot topic, sign stealing. And, it's even now a lot of focus is on the base coaches, picking up stuff, tipping it to their guys, looking for stuff. It's everywhere. What can you tell us about that? Are you looking for, on the bench, trying to prevent it? Or how do you guys dig into that?
Well, I can tell you this has been going on since they started playing baseball. The thing that's happened now is there's more cameras on more people. I mean, back in the day, there were 3 or 4 cameras covering a game. So no one wanted a picture of the third base coach while he's in between pitches. They didn't care. Now there's cameras everywhere. There's people with cell phones. So it's just out there, social media, stuff like that. It gets blown up. And also the ability to watch the game through video, a prior game, to see things, the different camera angles everybody has, to see the tipping, of pitchers. It's so slight, but if you can slow it down and zoom in and things like that, you can pick things up a little easier now than even 5-10 years ago. So I think that's where you see it most. And most of it, I would say 99% of it now is off of somebody on the field. It doesn't have anything to do. I think Major League Baseball has done a pretty good job with the pitch comm and cleaning up all that stuff is most of it is the catcher, the pitcher, an infielder moving, something like that, that advanced scouting's picked up or somebody's picked up in the dugout. So I think, like I said, it's just old-fashioned gamesmanship, but it's out there a little bit more now because of social media and all the cameras.
I'm curious, next year, Major League Baseball is going to introduce the ABS, automatic ball strike system. And I'm wondering if you think the implementation of that, is that going to change the focus on pitch framing and whatnot? Or is the fact that it's only 2 challenges not change anything? You have any thoughts on that?
Still working through that right now, but I think it's going to change things. I think there's going to be more concentration on just catching the ball. I'm not sure if you're going to see the guys move their glove as much as they are now, just because all you're trying to do is catch it. I think the most important thing I think next year is going to be that the catcher knows the strike zone better than anybody. So if he does catch a ball, he catches a nasty sinker that's running out of the zone, and he's like, I know that clipped the bottom of the zone, even though my glove ended up in the dirt. He's going to be able to challenge that. So cool. We're still talking through it. We do have the ABS system on the iPads now, so that we can look, which is what we had in spring training. So you can look at what was called during the game and then see, hey, was that an ABS strike? The only thing I question about right now, I think left and right, in and out is good at the ABS. The up and down, I don't know if the one we're looking at is the actual percentage what we used in spring training. So up and down is kind of questionable, but it's stuff we talk about. Hey, would we have challenged that one? Should we not challenge that? But that's something definitely in spring training next year. We're going to try to do as much receiving, whether it's off a machine or catching bullpens, with the ABS/TrackMan on, and question guys like less technique and more, was that a ball or strike?
Right.
Hey, Dusty, I did have a question for you personally. I know that you've had some discussions with some organizations. I'm not trying to get you kicked out of Philadelphia, but I think that you're one of those guys that really should be considered as a manager for a major league team. You've had the experience in a variety of ways, particularly here in Philadelphia with a great organization. But do you still have aspirations of being a manager? And is that something that is still a personal goal for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if you would ask me 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would have probably said, I'll take any job. I don't care if they lost 150 games last year or they got a chance to go to the playoffs this year. I think I'm in a different situation now. I love the organization. This is my 20th year being a player, minor league manager, coach in the big leagues. So that's something special. Obviously, the Phillies have been like a family to me. If you would have told me when I started playing this game in 1994 that I would have been with an organization for 20 years, I would have said, you're crazy. So I really enjoy what I'm doing here. That being said, I'd still love to manage, but for me now, it has to be the right opportunity, the right place, the right city for myself and my family. I have one left in high school, so he's a sophomore in high school. So probably to go to the West Coast would be a little bit much at this point. But, staying on the East Coast, maybe somewhere in the Midwest, being a little bit closer to home, I would probably like the opportunity, depending on what the situation ends up being with that organization, how close are they to winning, what their front office looks like. So, I went into an interview last year, and then I led with, you guys are interviewing me today, but I'm interviewing you as much as you're interviewing me, just because I want to hear what you guys have to say. This has to be a right fit for me. I'm not here just to answer questions and try to get this job. I want to find out about your organization, what you see going forward. And, it just wasn't a good fit. And that's how I look at it now. It's got to be the right spot. I won't just jump at anything.
Yeah.
Dusty, maybe we can lighten it up a little bit. You and Ruben have something in common. Your dads were both in the dugout in 1980 for the World Series. Your dad is a catcher with the Kansas City Royals. Ruben's dad, former Phillies player, was a coach on the 80 team. Phillies win the World Series that year. Ruben was a bat boy. But you both intimately involved with those two World Series combatants. What is your memory of 1980 as a kid and the Phillies Royals World Series?
Well, we had big plans for steak and lobster dinner. We ended up with hamburger. Ruben got the steak and lobster dinners, I think. Now, I was 7 years old then, didn't come to Philadelphia. Went to some relatives' house. My mom came to Philly, so never got to Philly for that. But so I was a little bit younger in that one. The 1985 one was my dad's last year playing. So I was 13, started kind of bat boying and doing stuff like that at that time. So that was a lot of fun. That's the one I really remember. I do remember bits and pieces of the 80. I remember being at the game when Dickey threw at George, and they say it changed the whole dynamic of the World Series. But yeah, we were at those games, skipping school a little bit back in the day, old school day game, World Series games. Cool. So yeah, it was it's pretty cool. I think Ruben and I have a lot of good memories from bat boying and being in clubhouses, and I think we've seen a lot. And we were fortunate to see all that stuff and keep it in our mind's eye and probably not let a lot of it out.
Who was your favorite player other than your dad?
Oh, there's a lot of them. A lot of great guys to me. George Brett, obviously, really good friend of my dad's. They lived together in spring training for years. Bud Black was a great guy. He was one of the first guys I ever saw get traded, as a kid, and that really hit hard. And one of the first probably autographs I ever got when he got traded, I grabbed a picture of him and said, "Hey, can you sign this?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." And typical Blackie fashion, he put, "Hey man, love you," or something like that, and signed it for me. So
sweet man, great man.
Oh, he's a great person.
He was a locker mate of mine in '95 when he was with Cleveland.
Yeah,
and just a superhuman being. I was just with him in the '95 when we had the reunion there. But
yeah, great guy. George Blackie. There were so many good guys growing up there. I mean, I grew up with a bunch of us played on the same little league team together. Paul Splittorff's son Jamie, Dennis Leonard Jr., Steve Busby went to school with his daughter. Like, we all kind of lived in the same little town outside about 8-10 miles from the stadium. So there was a lot of great guys. But Bo Jackson was he played for my dad's roommate in the minor leagues, Hal Baird, at Auburn. So I met him before he even signed with the Royals at an Auburn, Alabama game. And then my dad ends up managing him. Wow. So, him cool. Pretty good. But what a good guy, great guy.
How about you got a great George Brett story? I used to love George Brett.
Want one that I can tell on here? Let's see.
I mean, if you want to get really crazy, you can tell the one you don't want to tell on here.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Ruben's probably got a couple stories from the clubhouse. No, George is a funny guy. He so I know one time my dad bought a Bronco from him for like $5,000 and like 5 home cooked meals, which was probably worth twice as much as that because George was single at the time. I mean, George would come over for Thanksgiving. I have one good story of George I could tell that this kind of tells where he was at that time of his life. So he's coming over for Thanksgiving dinner, and he tells my mom, "I got to have peas." She said, "Okay, I'll get you fresh peas." He goes, No, I need frozen peas." She says, "Okay." So George comes over. It's early in the day. My mom's starting to cook or whatever. And he goes, "You got the peas?" She goes, "Yeah, I haven't cooked them yet." He goes, No, I just need the peas. So he gets the peas out. He puts one on his lips, leans back on the next to the kitchen sinks, and he's blowing it up in the air. And he thinks this is the greatest trick he's ever done in his life. He's got this pea floating up above his mouth. And that's the only reason he wanted peas at Thanksgiving dinner, was so he somehow found this trick out, and he thought this was the greatest thing ever. So that was where George was at the time in his life.
That is great. Oh my God. It's so funny. Well, Dusty, thanks so much. And I'm sure Phillies fans are hoping that in about a month, you're doing what you did not do after Game 6 of the 1980 World Series, and that you're having a nice steak and lobster dinner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And a nice cigar with maybe a little bourbon. I don't know.
There you go.
Just thinking.
Thanks again to Dusty Wathan for the time. Jim, we're going to be back on Friday with our Game 1 NLDS preview, so make sure you check it out on Friday morning. Don't forget, guys, if you love the Philly show, you can show your support. You can go to the PhilliesShowShop.com. If you're watching on YouTube, scan the QR code on your screen, or go to the PhilliesShowShop.com. We've got a lot of great stuff. all sorts of gear, swag, whatever you want to call it. And check us out on Friday. Big NLDS preview show.
Can't wait. A lot of fun. Smell you later, Todd.
Smelly Jim.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.